Greetings, humans. Oh, I'm sharing my screen. I didn't think I was sharing my screen yet. Hello, everyone. My name is Guy Royse. Let me turn my screen off here so I can introduce myself properly. Greetings, humans. My name is Guy Royse. I'm a developer advocate here at Redis, and this is Redis Live. This is Live Coding with Guy. This is me building a fun and kind of silly app using LangChain for Node and using, of course, Node, obviously, and Redis Vector Search and a whole bunch of other tools to build something that is build something that will find Bigfoot. So I've been working on this for a couple streams. If you've watched before, welcome back. If you're new, then welcome. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been working on and give you a sort of a summary of what we've done up to this point so far. So I'll stop rambling. I'll bring my screen back here so we can see that I have here Visual Studio Code, and I am going to be live coding. This thing is called, what I'm building is a semantic search tool that lets you find Bigfoot sightings that match whatever it is you're looking for. And I've actually got that portion of the application working already. You can hit an API and put in Bigfoot sightings, and it'll load them up. It'll create embeddings and store them in Redis. And then you can search for Bigfoot sightings that match those embeddings. And so that's working. However, the loading of them is slow. And so, well, let me show you code. It's probably easier to show code. I've got a Docker Compose here. This is what I did last week after we streamed, because I thought setting up Docker would be boring on stream. Greetings, Methlich. Good to see you. Slowly but surely, we're getting this app built. We've pretty much got the searching working, right? But I need to make it so that we can load things a little more asynchronously, because I've got a MacBook. It's an older MacBook with and not with an Intel processor, opposed to one of the new M1 processors. And so to create my embeddings, it takes about a minute, roughly on average. And so we just want to make that asynchronous process. And one of the things I really want to do is I want to get these all loaded into a Redis instance that you can load up with this repo that I'm working in, and actually just go ahead and have them preloaded with the embeddings created, so you can just play around with the search and see how it works. Well, let's talk about what I've built so far. So, and I did mention the GitHub repo. So if you are wanting to follow along with the code, excuse me, then we've got that code is out on GitHub right now. It's on it's just on my personal GitHub right now. We'll be moving this once it's done to a Redis GitHub, but this is where it's at right now as I work on it. So if you want to pull that code down and play around with it while I do, feel free. If you want to send me a pull request between streams, that's totally cool. Just do keep in mind that if you solve the problem for me, then I probably will not be, I won't be able to stream it. And so part of the point is to code it up. So don't do all my work for me. Excuse me. And so, yeah, that's the QR code to the GitHub. Yeah, let me get a quick drink of water here. I literally got back from London on Monday. I'm in Eastern time at 11:30 p.m. Worked all day yesterday, recorded a video with a partner, and then today I'm recording another video. I'm still not fully recovered from that trip. So, okay, let me go ahead and take the QR code down there so it doesn't clutter up the view. Let's go ahead and take a look at what do we want to look first? So I've built basically two modules, or two. I'm going to call them microservices, but I really feel like they're nano services. But I've built two things, and I had to make them two separate things. They're not really microservices, but I had to make them separate because one of them is the thing that's going to read an event stream in Redis for Bigfoot sightings that you've seen, that you've encountered, that you want to load. And I want that to be able to fan out and run on multiple instances, because it's a slow running process. And then the other is the API that you interact with. And so these are naturally need to run in two separate processes. And so I did them as I use Docker. I Dockerized it all. But let's take a look at the code so far, because we're just looking at a Docker Compose here. So we've got my API. This is just the API that you hit. If you go to app.js, you can see it is an Express API, Express application. Importing a port from a config file. We've got a search and save method in something called embed.js, which is really the brains behind the API, this API here. We're using Express here. We're using JSON. We got two endpoints called search and load. And all they do is they pull some parameters off and then call search and save. I probably should have called this search and save here, but I didn't. And I'm not going to change it now. And then so it calls into these imported functions here, and then returns the results that it gets back to you. And then it starts the server. So this is a very, 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 very basic Express application. That Web Guy Solutions. Welcome to the stream. What's up, that Web Guy? I know that you too are in Eastern time because I recognize your profile photo. Glad that you could join us. Just talking about my very boring Express application, which is going to do, yep. I know. I just didn't want to call you out on stream, but if you're good with me calling you out as DJ, I'm good with it. So good to see you, DJ. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio. DJ is just a little bit south of me, well, south and west, I suppose. But yeah, so basic Express application. And then I've got an embed.js. And what the embed.js does is it basically creates the implementation of these functions that are being used by the Express layer. So here's a save, which will let you save a new Bigfoot sighting. So it'll load it up. What this function did originally was it would take the text of it and create an embedding and save it to Redis as a vector. That process of creating that embedding was kind of slow. I've moved that off to another thing. And what this does now is it takes the sighting information, which is a JSON file, creates a key and sets all of that data into a hash in Redis. If there is observed text, this is the eyewitness account of the Bigfoot sighting, then go ahead and dump that along with the ID onto an event stream and using the xadd command. And so I got a Bigfoot sightings reported stream. I don't really care about IDs too much. Order doesn't matter. I'm really just using this as a queue. And so you just use a star and then say ID observed is the two things being passed in there. So that'll pass in a couple key value pairs there. And then just log that I did it and return. So now instead of doing the embedding and saving it all, it saves what it can immediately and then puts the rest into a stream to be processed later, to be processed asynchronously. So, hey, Justin, glad you're in the stream. Gonna watch me stream and avoid work. Good man, good man. Justin is one of my coworkers here. He may end up joining us here on stream one of these days. We all have a mega crap ton of work to do, and so streaming is part of the crap ton of work I have to do, but it sure is a lot of fun. Justin probably doesn't have time to join me, but it would be great if he could. He likes himself some JavaScript too. So that's what that does. Then search here, what it does is it creates a query and uses Redis search to then search that embedding and do vector search. So we're going to create a search query, and if you've got various params like the state and the county and the classification, we'll build up a query over time. And then and there's high temperature, low points, all these things we can pass in. And then if there isn't anything that was passed in there so far, then we said it's a star, which means search everything. That's right, DJ. JavaScript is web goodness. I'm not doing the web goodness. I'm doing like the back end goodness, the back 40 as opposed to the front 20. That's how I always think of applications. Is you got the back 40, which is the back end work, and then you got the front 20. But that'd be because I grew up around farmers, so I love that metaphor. So then you have to build the Redis query portion, or the vector query. So this up here is building the search query. This is sort of a conventional Redis search sort of query. I want something that's tag state and with this county, et cetera, et cetera. And if there's nothing, I just do star for everything. And then there's the vector query portion of our search where we say we're going to use can. We want to return count number of nearest neighbors. Count in here is just passed in. And here's our embedding that we're going to pass in, and that's of type $blob, or its variable name is it's a blob. And then in here, $blob is referenced here. So we're going to call it @embedding, and it's going to be a variable pass in a parameter called $blob. And then all we have to do is combine these together in this sort of curly brace, or this parenthesis and arrow syntax. And so you'll end up with something that looks like this. It can be like star, fat rocket, and then that. That's what you would end up with. And then and if you have something in here like @state : that's incorrect. @state : Kentucky. We'll go with Kentucky. Just a little shout out there for you there, DJ. Then if you specified a state, it would do that. If you specified, there we go, that's correct, etc. So your traditional Redis search query goes in parentheses here. So whatever that builds up to be, usually it's going to be star. And then your vector search goes after it, on the right side of the fat arrow. So then we call fetch embedding model, which is the function which gives us the model to create the embedding. And so we take our query and we turn it into an embedding. An embedding is a hyperdimensional or a high dimensional, multi-dimensional array of numbers that represents the semantic things that are in the text that we gave it. So if I give it, say, for example, Bigfoot's, give me Bigfoot sightings near a body of water, then Bigfoot sightings that have concepts such as lake or pond or stream or ocean or one of those are all very close in that multidimensional array to where the word water is. They're all bodies of water. And so the embedding will reflect that. And so you have basically multidimensional arrays that have numbers in the same place with similar values. Then when we go to search, Redis search, we can search on that vector and then find other vectors that are similar to that embedding and find other embeddings that are similar to it. So we get it. We have to convert it to bytes using this gnarly bit of code here. And then we call ft search, give it the search index, the query that we build up here. It must be dialect 2 to do vector search. We'll pass in our blob. This blob here corresponds to this $blob here. And this is a node buffer that is baked into a Node Redis, into Node Redis. We'll use that. This is a little weird because I get back an array of numbers, and then I have to take that array of numbers and turn it into a float 32 array. So it's specifically a float 32 array, not just a regular JavaScript array. And then I have to get the buffer of that float 32 array, which is a JavaScript buffer, but not a Node buffer. And then it'll just give me an array of bytes. It's just a straight up array of bytes. And then I got to take that array of bytes and turn that back into a buffer that Node understands. So you've got sort of like you got two kinds of buffers here, which is kind of screwy, right? But that's what you got to do to make it work. And so then we give the dialect, we give it our params, and there's our embedding bytes. We want to sort it by the embedding score. This embedding part right here corresponds to this name right here. So if if I called this vector, that'd be vector score. If I called this Bob, this would be Bob score. And it's double underscore embedding score. And then we tell it what we want to return here. We want to return the ID of the Bigfoot sighting, so just the number of it. The title, the observed text, that's the eyewitness account, the thing we're creating an embedding out of. A summary, which is the summary is the summarization that our models made. I'll show you that in a moment. It looks like I made a change here. There we go. So part of the process of creating the embedding from the observed is that we have to summarize it and then create the embedding because the observed stories are too long for the embedding model that we're using. So I like to see both of them when I do a query. We got our classification for our Bigfoot sighting. Class A is I saw Bigfoot. Class B is evidence of Bigfoot, like howling or footprints or something. And Class C is someone told me they saw Bigfoot. We got the county, the state, the latitude, the longitude, the high temperature on the day that happened, and let's return the embedding score as well so we can look at it. And then we just get the results back and return them. And so that's what this API does. And this actually works. I've got it Redis running, and I'm going to go ahead and run it just to show you that it does indeed work. So if I do a docker compose up -- build, we will kick this off, and I'll show you the Dockerization here in a minute. This is something I did off stream. There we go. And so if I do I think I have a curl command in here already. There we go. There's a curl command. So here it's like at night with sounds. So give me Bigfoot, the highest ranking Bigfoot sighting that matches this concept of at night with sounds. And let's go ahead and let's get a couple of them. Let's do count :2. Let's get 2 of them instead. So if I hit this search URL, and I give it this JSON here with curl, and I say make -s to make it silent so we don't get like a little download status. Pipe it into JQ to make it pretty. Hit enter, and let's expand that so we can see the results. here are the two results I got. The first one is got an embedding score of 0.552722. And so here's our observed, and there's a summary. In the given account, 3 coworkers at a remote work site in Iron County heard an unusual howling noise during the clear full moon night. So that's at night, and there's a noise. Perfect. Vocalizations and wood knocking at Mark Twain National Forest. Let's look at the summary. 60-year-old man with extensive camping, hunting, and wildlife experience shares his encounter on a property in Dent County, Missouri. Owns 80 acres. He heard unusual vocalizations. 2 consecutive nights. So there you go. So totally works. If we could say like near a body of water, you enter. Then here are 2 where you've got creatures throwing rocks at a fishing dock there. And this has happened in this one down here. A fisherman has daytime sighting west of Mount Vernon. Is that in Ohio? No, it's Mount Vernon, Missouri. Okay. There's a Mount Vernon, Ohio. So you can see this thing works, right? Now, if we go and look, I don't have a ton of these loaded yet because there's 4,586 of these Bigfoot sightings. And of the 4,580, at about a minute each, that means it's going to take about 2 days to load everything in. I will do that on my own once I'm done with streaming all this so that you can have the advantage and search these. But in the meantime, no, we're not. So let's go ahead and minimize that. So the thing that I want to work on today is I want to get the embedder working. And so you saw that I would drop things on a stream, and then I need to process events to the stream. So I need to get that working. And so that's my objective for today. I did Dockerize all this stuff before I left for London a week and a half ago. But I'll go and show you the Docker Compose here. I've got, I'm bringing in Redis Stack Server. So there's Redis Stack and Redis Stack Server. Redis Stack Server is the one that has just Redis. Redis Stack will have Redis plus Redis Insight. I'm going to run Redis Insight outside of it, so I did not include that in here. Importantly, I have mapped the internal folder of /data where Redis is going to store its dump file. It's Redis database, the RDB. To ./Redis, which is right here on the left there where my cursor is big. And so it will save it to the file system, which means it'll go into GitHub. And then I'm exposing the ports on Redis to the outside world so that I can interact with it. Strictly speaking, you wouldn't need this other than it makes it hard to test. So that's what I've done. The API is you build it. It's in the API folder. Internally port 8,000, externally port 3,000, and then here's all of its configuration. It depends on Redis being started, and the embedder is in the embedding folder here, and it has a Redis instance as well, and it also depends on Redis being up. So one last thing that I did to this application is for the API is when it spins up, it connects to Redis here using all the configuration. And then I had to write a little thing called wait for Redis because I couldn't call create index until Redis was done loading the dump RDB. So wait for Redis calls is ready. And while it's not loaded, so it's a real simple forever loop here until is ready returns true. And is ready, all it does is it calls redis.info and asks for the persistence section. And then splits on it and looks for the line starts with loading. And so this is kind of clunky code, but behind the scenes what this is, if you say redis-cli, you say info persistence, then you'll get this information back. And you've got this loading right there. So all I'm doing is looking for that loading flag. When Redis first starts up, if it'll say loading 1, I need to wait till loading is 0 because then once that loads up, I need to create the index optionally. And so I got to see if the index exists and then create it. So here is, where's the index exists? There it is. So it's just getting all the indices and then seeing if it's in there. And then this creates it if it doesn't exist already. This is slightly flawed. If I change the index, this code won't work anymore. So I do need to update that at some point, but that's not what we're going to do today. So that's another thing that I had to do to get this to work once I started creating all the pieces. This wasn't an issue before because I just had Redis up and running. It wasn't coming up with Docker Compose. And so now it is. So I had to be a little more sensitive to the fact that Redis might not actually be done loading its data into memory yet. So that's a lot of talking and not a lot of coding. So let's take a look at this in the embedder here. So this code, I copied a bunch of the code that was in the API over to the embedder at the end of the last stream. And so I need to make it actually be used. I don't have anything actually invoking anything on it. So, but what I have here is I have an app.js, which has just got some functions that I will be using, but I'm not using yet. And I've got a models.js. And the models.js fetches two models here, fetches a summarization model and an embedding model. And the idea here is that we'll take the citing, we'll summarize it to something that's 512 words or less. And then from those 512 words, we'll create the embedding. And we need to do that whenever something new comes into the event stream. So let's start doing that. This guy right now has a save embedding function, which calls summarize, and then gets the embedding bytes by calling embed. And then we set them on the key, probably on an existing hash already. Summarize calls try to summarize. This is a little bit of a hack because of an error that I ran into with the model I was using. Try to summarize fetches the summarization model and passes the text it wants to summarize. If that throws an error, then we call it again. I think this is wrong. Yeah, this code is not correct. This can't possibly be working because there's no inner summarization. I just want to call try to summarize. So it tries to summarize. If it fails, it gets an error. It'll catch it and try again, creating a new model. And otherwise, but if you don't pass it through, it'll use the old model. And yeah, there's try to summarize. There's embed. Yeah. So that's the code we have. I don't know that this really belongs in apps, but it's probably okay there for now. Let's go ahead and get rid of Redis there. Clear. And so I need to do event streaming. I need to read that stream. So I've got in Redis, and I've actually loaded some of these already. So if I go out to, where's that here? I do not have Redis Insight running. Let's get that Redis Insight running here. Oh, I put it on the other screen. So here's Redis Insight. I'm going to go to that local one because that's just localhost. And if we look in here in Redis Insight, we can see that I've got lots and lots of hashes containing Bigfoot sightings that I've loaded. Here, this one does not have a summary, so it has not been processed yet. That's okay. Most of these do not because it's slow. So I've got those, but I do have in here, I have a stream that I pre-populated. And here is all the Bigfoot sightings that were loaded into it. And so it's got the ID and the observed. And so we can read this event stream. That's what we're going to do today. So I need to, well, we need to do that, don't we? So right now this says hello world. That's not a very useful thing. So I think we need to, for an event stream, we need to start reading that event stream. And I want this to fan out. So I'm going to use consumer groups. So I'm going to need to create the consumer groups first. And then this one will need to identify it as a member of that group. And so let's take a look at the stream command. So X group create, next group create consumer. Now, I only want to create the consumer group once. And I want it to hang around, even if the service shuts down. So it'll just pick up where it left off when you turn everything back on. So I call create, give it this, so you call X group create, give it the stream name and a group name, and then where in the stream you want to start. I want to start at the end, so $sign, so it'll only process new things as they come in. I don't want to look at the history of the stream. In fact, we'll probably erase the contents of the stream. So we can call create, but if I call create a second time, I'll get a busy group error. I guess I could just handle that error and ignore it if we get it and not worry about it. So try and create it whenever we start up, and if it exists already, then be good with it. Or I could call xinfo groups. This would be probably a better way, and say, does this thing exist? Let's do that instead. I think that's probably a more robust way to do it. Although you do run into the problem where if a bunch of these spin up at the same time, they're all going to see if it exists or not, and they're all going to say no, and then they're all going to try and create it. So you kind of do a little bit of a circuit breaker pattern there. And so it actually might be easier just to create the group, and then if it errors, then it errors. Because otherwise everyone's going to go in and everyone's going to get that error anyhow, because everyone's going to go in and say, does it exist? And they'll all get no. And then they'll go in and try and create it, and then all but one will get an error. So we're going to have to handle that error anyhow. So let's just create it every time and be done with it. I think that's easier. So we're going to do an X group create. I have not done this from Node Redis before, but let's go ahead and, first time for everything, right? Create consumer group. Okay, await X Redis group create Bigfoot consumer group $true. ChatGPT is such, or not ChatGPT. Copilot is such a wonderful thing. I don't trust it though, so I'm going to go and look at an example here really quick. So that, and then I don't need to make the stream if it doesn't exist. Maybe I should just in case. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But let's go ahead and do the make stream thing as well. I think that's actually kind of what I was thinking. There we go. So this will create a group. I do not want to call it Bigfoot. I want to call it Bigfoot Bigfoot sighting group. Yeah, well, I kind of agree. I mean, it actually did save me a ton of typing here. I think of Copilot as sort of like autocomplete on steroids, which is kind of what LLMs are, honestly. But you can go in there and it will, you use it, and it'll give you some good starter code to work with. Actually, I run the Columbus JavaScript user group here in Columbus, Columbus.js, and we're actually meeting tonight. If you're in Central Ohio, drop by. And we have a buddy of mine coming down to talk about the impact of AI on testing. And one of the things, it's an interesting pattern, which I think he's going to probably look at, I hope he looks at, is this idea that you can write your unit test. So you can do like a TDD, test-driven first, or test-first sort of model, where you write a unit test and then ask AI to make the test pass. And yeah, it might not write the best code, but if your tests are really well crafted, it's going to write code that passes them, and you're going to catch all your edge cases. And so it's an interesting idea. I'm curious to see how it plays out. Sort of like I write the tests, and then AI writes the code for me. Yeah, take a shot every single time guy takes Columbus. Well, I can't because I got to drive. But yeah, it's a really interesting pattern that I want to play with. Now, what I'm worried that people are going to use AI for when it comes to AI and testing, and hopefully Jordan, when he talks tonight, it's Jordan Powell's the guy speaking. He'll call this out as well. Is I could see someone writing a bunch of code who doesn't like writing tests and saying, well, I've written all the code. AI, will you generate all the tests for me? And all that will do is create tests that pass your code, whether your code's correct or not. And so it's a terrible, terrible idea. So, but for what I'm doing right now, I'm not writing any tests at all. So there you have it. This is wrong, by the way. This big, because the first value is the stream name key of this that contains the stream, and the second one is the consumer group that we're creating. And then so we're creating on the Bigfoot sighting reported. We're creating a Bigfoot sightings consumer group. We're going to start at the end of the stream, and if the stream mentioned here doesn't exist, we're going to go ahead and create it. And then we need a little try around that, because it could throw an error. Catch. And it gave me an error creating consumer group. I'm kind of curious what the specific error is going to be. Our example here actually does exactly what I just did. Just saying consumer group already exists, skipped creation. Consumer group already exists, skipping creation. There we go. I do want to log the error. I think I'm going to care about that. In case it doesn't work, right? Because there could be more than one reason why this would fail. And I would like to see that reason. But we'll leave it as that. Good enough for now. Okay, so that'll create the group. And then it's just a matter of reading the group. Well, no, it's not, because I got to create a what do I got to do here? I'm looking at this example here. It's actually a terrible example. Do I have to pass that in as isolated? That's kind of annoying. Actually, I probably don't. And you know what I'm missing here, though? Am I? I don't have Redis. I'm gonna be a little cheeky here and copy this over to here, because it's really kind of what I want, and then just remove the stuff that I don't want, because I know that I don't need any of these. I just need a client, because I don't need to create any indices. The other one's doing that, and I've got a config.js. I'm going to go ahead and copy pasta that over here too, and it just has Redis host, Redis port, and then Redis is going to bring those in from /config.js, and then we create a client and connect, and we don't need to do anything to it. So I think all of this code can just go away. I think that's actually all we need. We just need to export a Redis connection. Big Redis. Okay, in app.js then, and we have down here at the bottom, what we need to import Redis. So import Redis from /Redis. Okay, so create the consumer group. And then I think we just have to, well, let's just copy some more of the sample code here. What could possibly go wrong? And we'll just take this little bit here. You know, I think I'm just going to copy this entire block of code here. Simon wrote this quite some time ago, and he was a pretty smart feller, so I think I can trust it. So we create our consumer group, loop, while loop to read from stream. So while true, all these comments here. A client, I called it Redis. So we're going to read the group, and it's marked as isolated. Probably because it's going to block. Yeah, because blocking set to 5,000. I don't think for this particular instance, I really need to do this isolated. If a label is on stream, he may correct me here at any moment, but I don't think this needs to be isolated because no one else is going to be using this Redis command, this Redis connection. I'm the only one using it. I think that'll work, and I'll have a separate connection for each one. And so no one, I mean, behind the scenes, Node Redis does do connection pooling, and so you want to have an isolated one in case someone else gets handed that from the pool. But I've got a single process that creates a single connection. The pool is going to have one thing. I don't think it's going to matter. And if we get a different, if it creates several, then I'm just rotating between them, it won't matter. So I'm going to get rid of this a little bit here. I don't think we need the command isolated. So, but I do need to pass in my consumer group, which is right here. And these magic values should be turned into constants at some point. We need a consumer name. That's const consumer name equals, and I want this to be something that we generate each time. So I like to use ULIDs, but I don't have ULIDs installed. Let's do that. npm install save ULID. That's the name of the library. Create a consumer name from a ULID. Guess we need to import that, don't we? Import ULID. See if that will work. I think that's correct. And see if it comes up with a better answer here. So that should give us a new consumer name. So if you're not familiar with the ULID, ULIDs are these, they're like UUIDs, except they don't have dashes in them. Could use a UUID. I kind of like ULIDs. We use them in Redis Home. So the consumer name is going to be the ULID. Let's go ahead and say const group name equals this. And then we'll do const stream name equals. So we'll get all of these into little input values we can do before we even start creating any consumer groups. So there we go. And there's our consumer name. Create the consumer group. Things need names. Create consumer group. And then we can actually use the stream name and the group name. $. There we go. And then here we can use the group name, the consumer name, and then we just want to read from a single stream. I don't want to read from multiple streams. But the key for that stream is going to be stream name. And then this is going to say, give me the next entry ID that no consumer in this group has read. So that means give me the next thing. Just give me something. Give me anything. So we'll do that. Here we go. There's the array. And then we'll read one entry at a time and process it. So we want to get one entry, a count of one, and we'll wait 5,000 seconds for, or 5,000 milliseconds for something to show up. And if it does, then great. And if it doesn't, then we will just hit the loop again. So the response is this thing here, which has been conveniently documented for me in this sample code. So let's see, while true, try this thing here. So it's got a structure of, well, so what I wonder, what do I get back if there's nothing new added to the stream? That's what I'm wondering. So I'm getting a response here, but I don't know. I mean, it says the response looks like this. Would that be an empty array? Yeah, actually that would work. If it was an empty array, then then that would be falsy, and so that would work. I'm going to do this differently. If response dot an empty function for an array. I don't think there is. I think I asked this question last time. Strength length is equal to 0, then continue. If we didn't get anything back, just loop and do it again. So get out of Dodge. Then otherwise, I definitely got a thing, and it's going to be formatted like this. And I don't need to stringify the response because I'm going to return it. I need to do something else. It will, Captain Codeman. It will block for 5 seconds. It won't block forever. So I'm giving it a block for 5 seconds and then try again, block for 5 seconds, try again. So it will block until there's a message. But if this is sitting here and just running, then it's just going to, every 5 seconds, it's going to call xread group. And honestly, this number here and all these things that I find up here should be configuration. We'll get to that, but for now, we're gonna loop and loop and loop. But I kind of like the early exit logic of a continue, and I'm always a little leery of falsiness. Like there's lots of ways that you could just get bitten by falsiness. So we got an array of objects that'll have a name and the messages, which I should have one of. And so I should get something that looks like this back. So it should be the stream name. I should get one message, and the ID will be whatever the ID is, and the message will be ID of the Bigfoot sighting ID and the observed. Call it observed, or did I call it? What did I call it in the stream? Observed. Yeah, I did call it observed. Copy that. Observer observed. And that'll be a message. So I should get something that looks like this. And so to get what I want, which is really just these two values, I should be able to say const ID equals response sub-0 messages, get the first one, dot ID, and const observed. Yeah, it knows that's text. It's looking at all my code. It knows me. And that should get me what I want. Now, this is optimistic. And so I probably should really be checking to see if the response, well, the response has to have at least one thing in it. So that'll work. I should probably make sure that I actually have messages back, even though it's hard pressed to think that I wouldn't. And so I could get a little defensive here and say, if response.messages, yeah, exactly. The length of the messages is 0. If I don't actually get any messages back, let's continue with that as well. I'm just being a little paranoid here, but years and years of being a programmer have taught me to be paranoid. And so if there aren't any messages for this stream, then ignore that as well. And if you get more than one response back for each stream, then we've called it wrong. So I think we're good there. Skip if nothing to process. Nothing. Skip if nothing is returned. That's good. Okay, so let's go here and read from the stream. So we read from the stream for this group, this consumer. And the stream name is this. The ID is give me something no one else has. Give me one. Wait 5,000 seconds for a second to show up. If nothing's returned, skip out of here and do it again. And then we get the message contents. There's the ID and the text. And then we need to do something with the message. Save the embedding. So now we need to start using some of that code that I wrote up top here. And then once that's done, we need to acknowledge it. And then there we go. We don't need that there either. And then, so we need to save the embedding, and then we will then need to acknowledge the message. I think there. And then that's the while true, curly brace. Why is it giving me an angry? What was there? Oh, because I didn't put a catch on here. That'll be good for now. Okay, so now saving the embedding will be a matter of using what's in the functions I have up here, which are try to summarize, which calls summarize, or summarize. So we need to call summarize, and we need to call embed, which we're already doing here. So we just need to call save embedding. Actually, that's all we need to do, right? So in here, we'll say save embedding, ID and text. And that is going to be very asynchronous. We'll await that. And I think, and then we acknowledge the group, acknowledge the message. Obviously, these are wrong here. I need the message ID as well, which we're parsing out of there, but I kind of want to say, hang on. This is, okay, I did this wrong. Message.id is that. And then we have two IDs here. So we have the message ID, which is that. And then we have the citing ID, which is that. And maybe I could do this instead. Const message like that. And then we can say yeah. Then we can say message.id and message.text for citing ID. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like any of this. So that gets the ID and the message, and then you got the citing ID and the citing text. I'm going to call it that. There we go. So then this gets the citing ID and the citing text. That. There we go. And then this here is the entry ID, is just the ID. So to call ACK, we need to pass in the stream name, and the consumer group. All right. Did I call that right? Let's let the stream name, group name, and ID. Okay, yeah, I did figure it out. Greetings, Naveen. I hope it's not horribly late for you right now, because it's 2:48 in the afternoon for me here in Columbus, Ohio. Take a shot, DJ. And if you're in India, then you are probably about 10 hours in my future or so, 11 hours maybe, which would make it like 1:30 a.m. or 1 a.m. for you, maybe, be my guess. So, well, thanks for watching. I just have the nagging sense that this is wrong, and I don't know why. What does ACK take? There's something bugging me about it. I'm sure it works. My brain says that this works, but my heart is telling me that I'm doing something wrong. And when your head and your heart aren't in agreement, then you should try and figure out why. Because if they're not both on board, then it's probably a bad plan. Key, group, and ID. So the key is the stream name. The group is the Yeah, so it's a group. You don't have to pass in the consumer. I guess it would know who the consumer is because of the connection. So the consumer would be associated with that connection, right? So I think that's how it knows. That's what's bugging me is I'm like, oh, how does it know that I'm this consumer group? That I'm this particular consumer in the consumer group? And the answer is that associates that consumer with that connection. So I think this is good. Yeah. This is kind of a big pile of code. I'm not really happy with how this is laid out. I kind of want to break it up a little bit just because I've got this long thing of code here. And I've sort of got my entry point, which is this code here. And then I'm calling all these helper functions, which I've defined up here. And I think I want to put all these helper functions into something on their own. Like in a separate file, because it seems like a lot of code. And what I did in the API, I had an embed.js. So maybe I'll create, let's call it embed.js. With 1D. And then we can take some of all this code in here, including that there. And we got our save embedding, our summarize, our try to summarize, and our embed functions. We cut all those out. Come over here. And we can then export async. Is it async export function or export? Never remember. Export async function save embedding. And then there's summarize and try to summarize. So save embedding calls all these. And so now I've got all this code kind of in one place. And then we've got we call fetch embedding and fetch summarization models here. So we need to bring in the models here. So import models. There we go. JS. And there's my chat prompt template. Yeah, that's there. So there's my instruction template to the model to summarize. There's the other part of the template. I'll save embedding, create my key. That uses Redis. Let's take the save out of here and just export the summarize. I want this to be the piece that does the embeddings here. And then up in here, I can have the save embedding. In fact, I could really kind of just do, well, do I want to do that? So there's my ULID, there's Redis. I got a little save embedding function that I'm kind of like thinking, well, do I just want to inline this? Yeah, I always, it's like there's export and there's async and there's function, and I'm all, it reminds me, it's starting to remind me of Java, where I got the public static final void, whatever it is, and I lose track of what order all those words go in after a while. Okay. You would not be the first to have called me that, young man. So I've got so I think I'm going to create some functions around some of this code. So the save embedding is useful here. I'm going to put it down here at the bottom. Yeah. We've got this is fine. And I think this needs to be extracted as a function. So we'll call it this. Like whenever you got a block of code with a comment, that usually means you need a function called create called that. And that's await. So it's asynchronous. So I will await that, and then I need to just extract this out to a function. So sync function create consumer group. Did it just remember? I kind of remembered. There we go. Then we can call create. We can get all the names for the things we care about, which really should be configuration. We can create a consumer name. We create the consumer group, and then we loop to read from the stream. That's facts. You can definitely find Bigfoot by his footprints. That would be a Class B Bigfoot sighting, because evidence of Bigfoot without actually having witnessed him. So, I actually have a talk where I do this, so where I joke and say that Bigfoot is my father, and I've been trying to find him for years, but he's hard to find. And he left one day to go get milk and cigarettes and never came back. Maybe I'll bring that slide up at some point during the stream, but not right now. Let's go ahead and let's say read sighting from stream. We'll have another little function there that does that. Create the consumer group, async function, and then we'll take this bit here, there, and then this can just actually be a return. And where does that parenthesis go? There. We'll call it citing. And response is actually a better message. Response. If there's nothing there, skip it. Get the contents out of it. Save the embedding. Acknowledge the message. I'm going to go and acknowledge the message as well as a function, even though it's one line of code. It's sort of at the same level of abstraction as the saving and everything else. So async function acknowledge message. There we go. And it needs the stream name, the group name, which are up here. They're up there globally, and then pass in the ID. So acknowledge message ID. Kind of is in a way. You've got just some functions in there, and you just reveal the parts you want. It is a module. So create. Okay, so here I create the consumer group. Group loop forever. I think this will work. The only downside, I don't know, they should just work. Yeah. Now, if I just kill this in the middle of running, what happens? All right, we could have messages. We could be in the middle of, we likely will be in the middle of running this long running line of code here, because this line of code here, line 32, takes about 30 to 90 seconds to run, which is the whole reason we're doing this asynchronously like this. And if we stop it in the middle of that run, we just go ahead and shut everything down. It will have claimed a message, but it won't have done anything with it. And so we'll have pending messages that are unprocessed. I'm inclined to ignore that for right now, but that is a problem that needs to be solved. Because I've written a lot of code and I haven't run anything, and I kind of want to see if things work at all. Because there's probably some much more low-hanging fruit that I need to address here. Because I've just kind of vomited out a bunch of code that I is a combination of things that I know, things that I copied from Node Redis's examples, and things that Copilot generated. There's dragons in here somewhere. So let's see if we can find them. So let's do that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this. And hopefully that doesn't take too long. Should be done. And then we'll do docker compose up dash build. That should rebuild it. I'll see an error. And that'll be that. Which one is it building? I need better. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't build the image. I probably should have done a Docker build dot when I was in there. We'll see here. Okay, we're just kind of watching Docker. Okay, and we got an error. Cannot find package ULID imported from user source app.js. See, I told you there'd be something like that. Okay, let's just go ahead, and I probably used ULID wrong. So here we're importing ULID into app.js. Let's just take a quick look for ULID. ULID. There's the spec. Import ULID from ULID. Well, did I? I installed it in the wrong place. I installed it in the root here, like a dumbass. Okay, which means I got a package JSON here that I don't care about and node modules that I don't care about. So rm package .json package dash block.json rm dash rf node modules. Are you sure, guy? Yes, I'm sure. And then I need to change directory into embedder. And then I need to do the npm install dash ULID. There we go. Exactly, Max. Exactly. It just went ahead and said, yeah, sure, we'll create everything for you. No problem. A chunky, organized vomit, real world development. Yeah, that's kind of, I just kind of vomit out code and then I make it, and then I massage it till it's pretty. So let's try that again. I realize this is like the slowest development loop here, and I probably should be doing something smarter than this. But I'm in that lie that you get into when you're developing. It's like, well, I can go ahead and just do it one more time because it'll work this time. And so only one more swing of this axe and the tree will be down. I don't need to sharpen my axe. The tree's almost knocked over. Let's go ahead and see if that makes a difference and see what error comes up next. And then I will take another drink of my bottle of water. My goal is to try and get this all working today. And then hopefully on Friday, maybe we could look at a UI and actually put something in front of this. And, we may be honestly getting close to having this tool done and usable. So, and then I'll have to come up with something else to stream. So if you are watching and you have ideas for things you'd like me to stream that have a nice healthy dose of Redis in them, that'd be fine. I was thinking about, I always like to do radio stuff. And one of the things I was thinking about doing was doing some software-defined radio processing. Oh, that's a problem. Of automated APRS packets, which I could pick up here at my house quite nicely. So error reading from stream typer cannot read properties of undefined reading messages. Okay, so let's see. Did it tell me anything else? That's a lot of. Okay, scroll. Did it give me anything else other than that message? That's the line 23, you say, Max? I mean, that would make sense. Somewhere around there is what I would expect. So just so everyone can see what's the chat that's going on. Max says line 23. Is it messages? Oh, that's annoying too there. So it. So I see two problems actually. You're right, Max. Is it message as opposed to messages? That could be what it is. But the other thing I've observed here is that I call create consumer group, but Redis isn't available yet. And so we have that same Redis isn't loaded yet because it hasn't loaded the dump.rbd. I also got a temp-8.rbd, which is probably, hell, I don't know what that is. Wait, I forgot to wait on line 19. Hang on. In app.js. Oh, yeah, that'd do it. That would do it for sure. Nice catch. Nice catch, sir. Yep. You got it too, DJ. It's always that async await. Gets you every time, doesn't it? Okay. Let's try it again. This time, surely it'll work this time. I can just start over again. That is not what I was expecting. Yeah. That's the flaw with how I'm approaching this problem. Actually, is that I'm kind of just like you said, raw dogging it. And I should be doing this in smaller testable chunks, but I'm not. And part of the reason is that this isn't a huge project in a way, and so it's trying to show how it works, and I just end up showing how programmers do their job. Let's see here. So that is a I'm just going to do it again. Failed to solve, failed to read Docker file, failed to create temp dir, make dir, var live Docker temp build kit, no space left on device. That is weird. I don't know what this temp-8.rdb is, but I'm going to just delete it. My guess is that is the trash. Does that have any bearing on why this is failing? Probably not. I didn't think it did. Let's go ahead and do a Docker build dot. No space left on device. Is that because my hard drive is full? Is that possible? I would think that if my hard drive is full, we would be having much more obvious problems. Docker build dot. That one builds just fine. Actually, I don't know what that is. So yes, I'm going to go with yes. That's probably what it is. In my mind, PVC is polyvinyl chloride, but I don't think that's what you're saying. But my guess is this is a tempter inside of the image itself. I mean, I'm sure I have hard drive space. Otherwise, my machine would just be screaming at me right now. Okay, okay, okay. So I'm, I think you're a little bit more of a Docker aficionado than I am. I'm not necessarily a super seasoned Docker developer. So the Docker image is saying you can take up to so much space, um, so that it doesn't overrun the host operating system. That'd be my guess, right? So that's what that does. Is there a way to specify that in the Docker Compose? Offhand. I'm going to Google that. EVC Docker Compose, or do you specify it in the doc file? It's probably okay. I'm guessing that's in the Docker Compose, isn't it? I'm into I don't know what I'm doing territory. Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. It would be Docker Compose because it's okay. So here in the Docker Compose, I would set the volume on like here. Except the embedder isn't asking for any space at all. The only one that's actually asking for space in the host operating system is Redis itself. Okay. Well, I'm going to do some Googling here. Docker Compose volume. What I should do, honestly, because this isn't really germane to the problem itself, and rather having you all watch me Google things and try and figure stuff out, is what I should probably do is actually just run this outside of Docker, which will allow me to test it more efficiently as well, as opposed to spinning everything up. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this, I'm going to comment that out. And my API is solid. I haven't really done anything to that all today. We'll build that. That is not what I thought was going to happen there. That's already happening for me. I'm literally running these models locally. I'm not hitting any APIs. And so I'm using like the, if we look at the models here, I got to, where are the models? The models hiding here. There they are. There's my Mistral model, which is, I think the file is like, I'm not gonna open it. It's huge. Anyhow, the point is it uses a ton of CPU. I don't have good. I don't have an NVIDIA card in my MacBook, and so it's actually CPU bound on all these embeddings, and so it just spins and spins and spins and spins. Yeah, that's true. You can go and clean those up every time periodically, though, which I do. So is that what I got to put in there? Is that the magic I got to put in the embedder to make it work? I wasn't expecting that the embedder would be the thing that was giving me the problem. Okay, I saved this. I'm basically saying don't run the embedder anymore. Just take it out. Don't run it at all. And if I do this, okay, it worked that time. What did I do different? Well, I'll take it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it. So, but I should be able to run the embedder here just fine because it doesn't need to talk to Express. It just needs to talk to Redis only and the models. And so I should be able to just run it with an npm start. Right. So package.json does node app.js. And do I have a .env? I'm using the main thing would be getting all my configuration options in here. So I've got a config.js here, which reports .m config. I do believe I did use that. Yeah, I did. And so that means I can create a .env file, but I shouldn't need to because I'm giving it meaningful defaults here. So it should just work. All right. Should just work. Let's do that. Well, okay. That is going to be, we'll just let that loop and take a look at our code. At line 22. So it does not return an array. It returns null. Okay. If response equals null, continue. Okay, so I did get my busy group, consumer group already exists. Oh. Null. Try it again. And actually, I'm glad I got that error message coming out, because then I can look at the error itself and say, if I get this specific error message, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to log that out. Okay, it's just sitting there. It's successfully not doing anything because I haven't put anything on the stream, but that's good, right? Okay. So I am going to go ahead and improve my code before I confirm that it all works, because I want to actually on the create consumer group, I really do want the I want to confirm that the error is actually the error reply. Busy group consumer group name already exists, and I think that's I want to confirm that I actually have that correct error. Otherwise, I want to exit. Right? If it's blowing up for some other reason, like Redis is down or something, I want to know that. So let's go ahead and what's the error is going to be? I do a there's going to be an error reply, because that's just what Redis is going to throw, I think. That's a type coming from Redis. Look at that in Node Redis, maybe. Run it. Ship it. If error dot message I have no idea where that came from, is equal to then just take that message there. Else throw error, because let's do this. If error is not equal to that, then throw error. That. Otherwise, we'll log it. I'm a fan of the one-line ifs. I know some people hate that, but it is just well, this is my code, not yours. So, so this should now just say consumer group already exists, skipping creation. And if we get some other error, it'll actually throw it. Let's see if that actually, okay, and it does. So that worked. Cool. Just a minor thing that I want to make sure I was doing there. So now it's probably going through, and in fact, let's go ahead and let's put some logging here so we can see it looping through. I feel comfortable getting rid of this now because I know that it returns null if there's nothing there. So we're going to do that. And then we'll say console.log, no message received. And continue. So now we got a little bit more of a. We can see that it's hitting the loop every second. So we should be able to see the ding, 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 ding as it goes through the loop. Every 5 seconds. No message received, looping, no message received, looping. Perfect. Now that is happily looping. Let's open up a separate. There we go. No. I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. So now I can do a curl. There we go. And instead of doing a search, do a load. So we'll call load. Content type is application JSON, and then ID. We need to give it a sighting ID, which is a number. Let's give it an. We need an ID that's not in use, I guess. And so let's take a look. Let's see if we can find one that's not in use. Go to hashes. Go to Bigfoot, sighting, 42. Is 42 in use? It is not. 23 in use? It is not. Is 13 in use? It is not. Hang on. Not getting anything. Do I need a star there? Yeah. So 42 is not in use, 23 and 13. So I've got 3 numbers I can play with that are numbers that I tend to like to use. So ID of 13, observed of I saw Bigfoot at Walmart buying size 17 flip-flops. Favorites. Did it do anything? Invalid argument type. Oh, that's annoying. What did I do wrong? Yes, Max, it is actually. It's called Redis Insight. Yeah, I'll bring it up for you. Show it off a little bit here. Brag for my peeps that helped build this. This is called Redis Insight. If I go to I'm going to go ahead and go to the databases here, and so you can set up multiple databases. I've got one running at localhost I called that local one, and then you can filter on the types of fields and the key names. You can actually do there's a hierarchical view you can do as well. I do all keys there. Where's the hierarchical view? Right here. And so it'll decompose it by like your key space. So it's pretty nice. It's called Redis Insight. It's made by Redis. It's free. You can get it on the Windows Store or the Microsoft Store, whichever it's called. And you can get it on the Apple Store for Mac. And you can also just download it from redis.com. So, and then you'll have this tool. If you're using the Redis Stack Docker image, that's the Redis Stack one, not the Redis Stack server, which is what I'm using. You can also just point browser at localhost port 8001, and it'll bring it up there automatically. So it's part of that Docker image, which is great for development. Probably not what you want to put in production. And it's got a little CLI down here, so you can do the CLI stuff. You can go to the workbench and do all sorts of keys. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, pub, sub, everything. So it's a great tool. I use it all the time. And there's the repo if you want to send us a pull request, which is hiding under your message. Sorry. There we go. Right there. So I'll take this to. I put it in the wrong window, but I'll bring it over here. So it's all out there in pub. So not sure what the license is. What is the license on that? So SSPL. Okay, makes sense. And yes, Max, that is a typical day at at Walmart. That is correct, Marco. We can Redis is. I'm using Redis as a vector store. So in these various sightings here, some of these sightings I have loaded have embeddings in them already that I've created, and most of them don't because I'm doing it the slow hard way. But yeah, I'd have to. There are 4,586 Bigfoot sightings, and I think I've created embeddings for like 40 of them. So the odds of hitting one are low. But yeah, you can totally use this as a database for that stuff. That is exactly what we're doing. And I'm actually trying to show more specifically, I am trying to show that you can use Redis as a vector database. But I'm also trying to show that you actually can do this all with just pure JavaScript and without using any external vendors. Although you can certainly use external vendors if you want. I am using LangChain JS, so I don't have to use Python, right? I can use LangChain. I can use JavaScript, and I'm using specifically two tools. I'm using LangChain Community. That's the LangChain there. I'm using Node Llama CPP, which is a lets you run Llama CPP LLMs with through that, run models through that using pure Node code. So I have nothing. I have no Python code. I have only JavaScript code, and I'm using the Zenova transformers, which allows me to do the same thing. So I'm actually doing pure. It's pure JavaScript. I mean, there's C++ behind the scenes. I mean, this is called Node Llama C++, right? But from a developer experience point of view, it's all JavaScript all the time. So, so that's one of so the two things I'm trying to show here are that you can do it with JavaScript. You don't have to use Python. You don't have to use external third parties. You can actually run this all locally. And so I'm actually running all this stuff locally. It's kind of, I really appreciate that you say that actually, because that is so true. It's Redis is one of those things where it's got a lot of it's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, right? I mean, it's got its core thing that everyone uses it for, of course, is just it's in-memory storage, and so it's just wicked fast, and so everyone's using it. I like to joke that people, the primary use case for Redis is caching. That's what everyone says. They're wrong. Its primary use case is not caching. Its primary use case is plastering over crappy architecture, and that's what most people use it for. But everyone has it there for that purpose. And then you've got these search capabilities that we put into it, and we've got this vector stuff that we put into it, and we got JSON and time series and all these things we've added to it. And it's kind of like, and event streams. Like this whole stream here has been about really about using event streams to do model processing from JavaScript of all languages, and or to create these embeddings using JavaScript of all languages. And there's an event stream in there. There's a stream type in Redis. You can use that for stuff too. And so there's a lot of things in there that it's like, well, I've got Redis already. And, I worked for some big enterprises in my career, and you run into that pattern where getting a new technology in the house can sometimes be a bit of a pain in the keister. But if you're using Redis already, it's like, no, it's just what we've always been using. And so you can just take advantage of what you have in place rather than spending 3 months working through procurement to get them to allow you to do a process for approval, to submit for the application, to build the abstract factory manager. So sorry if I seem a little shell shocked there. It's flashbacks from old jobs. So and yes, I agree, it is quite great. So thank you for pointing it out. It's much appreciated. So so this thing crashed, probably for some stupid reason. Invalid argument type. And this is probably a bug in my other code. Encoder invalid argument type. App.js line 21 of my API. What did I do wrong there? It looks correct. I mean, maybe should I perhaps not Dockerize any of this? What the hell? Let's turn it all off. We'll just have Docker only run Redis. And then over here in API, we'll change this to, do I have a .env in there? I probably have something running on port 880 already. New file .env type .env, and then in here we'll just say express port equals. I guess the build's not really going to do much in this case. Yeah, of course that's going to fail. And we'll go into our API. We'll do npm start there. Npm start here. Now we got two of those running. And now I need another terminal window. Let's go ahead and just add another terminal here. Come on. And then we'll do a load. And then we don't want a query. We want an ID. And we determined that 23 and 42 and 13 are not taken. Observed colon. And we'll go back to another typical day at Walmart. I saw Bigfoot at Walmart buying size 17 flip-flops. Here we go. Enter. And it worked. What did I do? I must have had a typo when I typed it. It did it happily. So added citing 13 to store without summary. Let's take a look in Redis and see what we created then. We got Bigfoot citing 13. There it is. There's an ID. There's an observer. I typed the wrong thing. That's why it worked. And that's why I didn't put anything on the queue. So because I typed observer instead of observed. That's okay. We can add it again. It'll overlay the data. The observer field will still be in there. I kind of don't care. And then it should then trigger something. And this time it failed. Okay, so I've got a bug somewhere in here in the API. And it says invalid argument type. Okay, so that's the same error. So, but it's going to be a little easier to find now. It's going to be an app.js line 21. Why is it saying invalid argument type? So that's 20. Yeah, that's line 21, column 18. I think anyhow. Oh, okay. So go deeper into the call stack, guy. Use your brain. It's because the invalid argument type isn't there. The invalid argument type is in embed.js line 17. Okay. Embed.js line 17. I'm calling. Okay. That would do it. Oh, I know what this is. So this can't be a number. It needs to be a string. Because this is not really truly a number. It's just being used to build a key. What it is that, and Redis should be actually not care about this, the way I'm storing things. It'll never know because it's just going to put it as a number in a string field. If I do this, it'll do it. So there we go. Let's take a look at our embedder. Well, it found something because it errored. So we're getting closer. Now we should be able to run that again and see the error happen again. Right? If we go back here. Yeah, there we go. So we can at least repeat this consistently. So what it is that the xadd command, the properties that you put on an event stream, they must be strings. So this is it's key value pair where the key and the value are strings. And I actually have a number because of the sightings, because I pass it in as a number in the JSON. Now, when I go to create a key out of that, Redis doesn't care. JavaScript just concatenates this stuff together and you get a string. And when I put it into the hash itself, that doesn't matter because hashes only store strings. So this is the only time it would matter. What I should probably do is something like this. And then it will work either way. But I'm not going to mess with that right now. But we are definitely getting a summarize is not defined on the embedding here. So that's going to be save embedding here is, we go to save embedding. I can't show you enough code right now, can I? I'm calling summarize. We don't need that. Where'd that come from? So, because I need to import them from the model.js. They're not in model.js, are they? They are in embed.js. Okay, so, or hang on, where was that here? So save embedding is defined in app.js here. It's the key. That's summary embedding. So I need to export. So summarize and embed both need to be imported. Yeah, so this is right, except it's actually not model.js, it's embed.js. And did I actually export both of those in embed.js or not? So there's summarize and embed. So this needs to be export as well. There we go. Yeah, I could do that as well. It's not quite what I want though. Let's go ahead and stop that. Start that. Stop that. Stop that. You're being much too silly. Okay. Consumer group already exists. Skipping creation. No message received. Lupin. Okay. Let's try this again. Got a good response. It's trying to create the embedding. It's not done, but it is doing its thing. So this is only just working. So now we have to wait for like 30 to 90 seconds. Hang on. I will have to check this package out, Barco. That looks very, very useful. So yeah, it should be working. Well, yeah, what I really need to be doing here is using NodeMon, which is what I was doing before. NodeMon actually is installed. But when I Dockerized it, that didn't work anymore. I think I just Dockerized it too soon. Looks like it worked. Let's go see if there's an embedding in Redis. It's looping for receiving messages again. So that's good. So we'll that key is still there. Let's refresh this. So we got it did so. There's my observe error, which is my old key. I'm going to delete that one because it's noise. But there's our ID 13. There's a reserved. I saw Bigfoot at Walmart buying size 13 flip-flops. Here is the summarization from the LLM from Mistral on this. In this account, a witness reported an unusual encounter at a Walmart store. They claim to have seen a figure resembling Bigfoot purchasing size 17 flip-flops. The individual is described as being tall and broad-shouldered. It's making crap up. With large feet that required the oversized footwear. No further details about the creature's appearance or behavior were provided. The sighting is notable for its unexpected setting, as it suggests the possibility, come on, of Bigfoot integrating into human society in some capacity. I love this stuff. It's so good. However, without concrete evidence, this remains an intriguing yet unverified tale. So there's the summarization that we've summarized, and then there's our embedding, which is a binary, so that we can't look at it. So okay, well that's great. So it worked, right? I've joked about this on previous streams. When you don't give it much and tell it to summarize it, it tends to expand it out, and it reads like a seventh grader's book report, where it has to be 500 words, and so they make sure they add all the extra content. Yeah, it is really cool, and it's all what's really cool about it. This is the part that gets me excited. Is this is the model I'm using is the Mistral 7B model. It's got a particular package. It's quantized so that it doesn't take quite as much space, but it's got 7 billion parameters. So if you look here, it's Mistral 7B instruct and blah 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 blah. That's 7B for 7 billion parameters. Each parameter is a 2-byte floating point number. So that's 14 gigs of data, but it's been quantized, which is some magic process, which frankly I don't fully understand. That compacts that down a bit. So it doesn't take a full 14 gigs of RAM on my Mac, which only has 32 gigs of RAM. But this model is running locally on my computer. It is not running off the internet. It is not running on any service or anything like that. It's running locally and does that summarization. And then the other model that I'm using is the, where's it out over here? Is the, not the embedding model, but it's the, let me bring it on package JSON. This is the Nova transformers. And so in my models here, that's the embedding model. Let's go to models here. The transformers model. So I'm using, its purpose is to create the embedding then from that summarization. And so, I'm using a library called Hugging Face Transformers Embedding, and you give it a model name on Hugging Face, and it will then download it and use it. And but again, it's running it all locally, so it's very cool. I believe that Bigfoot only uses Bigfoot coin, which is a his own cryptocurrency, but. There actually, I think there actually was a Bigfoot coin crypto at one point. I don't know if it's still out there or not. And it is really neat, Max. And I totally recommend you play with this. I did a lot of fiddling around to figure a lot of this stuff out before I decided to stream it and make more mundane mistakes on stream. But you do need a fair bit of RAM to do it. Mine is particularly slow because I don't have an NVIDIA graphics card on my MacBook. It's an older MacBook, and it's got I think it's got an AMD graphics card instead. And so this library that I'm using, Llama Node CPP, won't work with those. It'll only work with NVIDIA graphics cards, or I think it'll work with Metal or CUDA are the two options. And I don't have either of those. I have Metal, but it's I don't have Metal because I don't have the new Mac silicon. I have the old Intel silicon. But other than that, I actually really love my MacBook. It's great. But yeah, check it out, play with it. You do not need super fancy hardware to make this work. I mean, admittedly, it took it a little bit of time to create that summarization, but it did work. And yeah, well, cool. That worked. I'm kind of thinking I might have achieved my primary stream goal of getting this working today. I think it needs some tweaking, some maybe a little bit of massaging. Obviously, my Docker Compose stuff will be great once it's all running perfectly. But for now, this is actually working better from a troubleshooting point of view. The one thing I kind of need to do is get my consumer groups to be a little more robust. It's creating a consumer group, and I could fan these out and they could all get different ones to process in parallel. That would totally work. However, in fact, I could probably show that happening. However, if one of them crashes, you could, I don't have anything to handle unacknowledged messages or any pending messages that are left behind. So I have anything for that. And so that's a bit of an issue. But let's see if we can get this to run in parallel. I think that would be a good way to end the stream, right? We want to do that? I always look at this screen over here when I'm talking to chat, and it looks like I'm looking away because my camera's up here. But this is because this is where my screen's at, right? And so I can see all the chat messages over there. Okay, so Barco, you're saying there's a NeoVim plugin which integrates Mistral in your model of choice into your. Oh, that's really cool. That looks fun. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I'll waste a bunch of time going down that path. So DJ, there actually is a GitHub URL if you guys and gals and whoever's watching want to check it out. Let me throw a QR code up here for the code. So I've got just GitHub repo out there. I'll have a new version of it pushed out there. So I'm going to leave that up there. And then while that is up there, I am going to run a second instance of the embedder. So let's go ahead and shut that down. Shut that down. Let's go run it over here instead. So this has got Redis running. Let's exit full screen. And let's create a couple new terminals here. And we'll see what we can see. So this is just Redis. We can go to the left, go to the right. And then this will be change directory code, streaming, semantic search. And then this will be API to npm start. So that is up and running on port 3000. And then over here, we'll do two more of these. Code, streaming, semantic search, and embedding. Better. And then I'll just do a pwd pipe pb copy. And then c paste. There you go. And then I should be able to do an npm start here. And an npm start here. The process is running. Should be looping saying no messages received, right? Looks like it's doing what I want. Over here, we've got our server running. We got Redis running. So let's go into here. That. And then we'll do 23 and 42. Sound good? So QR code there if you want to get the code. Go ahead and get back to chat so I can see what y'all are saying. Okay. So we'll do 23. And what should the Bigfoot sighting be this time? I saw Bigfoot in my backyard playing with my toddler. That sounds horrific. I'm thinking of hiring him to be a babysitter. There we go. That doesn't sound weird at all. What did I miss? Oh, it's got an apostrophe in it, which always breaks this thing. I'm going to do that. I am thinking of hiring him to be a babysitter. There we go. And I saw Bigfoot in my backyard eating grapes. And I made a horrible mistake and did the same idea on that. So let's make that a 42 instead, or a 13, 42. There you go. So it's queued up a bunch of these. We look in here, look for the stream. There we go. All key types, stream. I think that might be a bug, actually. I didn't I need to update. So we've got 13, 13, 23, 23, 42. So, okay, so we've got 23 and 42. There's eating grapes is number 42 there. Toddlers 23. This is probably going to end up overwriting that. But you can see over here, I got two models running in parallel. That is a fantastic answer. And as you would happen to mention it, I had a Yeti cup. I like to camp. Although, honestly, I mostly drink bourbon out of it. So, but it is running them in parallel. This one's finished. This one is still doing something. And so, yeah, this is only totally working. Hooray! Good times, good times. Which means, okay, so I don't know what order these processed in. Probably in the order they arrived. So the toddler one probably got overwritten by the backyard eating grapes because it came in later. So I'm going to put the toddler one back in there so that can process. And one of them will pick it up here probably any moment. Will it? One of them crash, perhaps? There's 23 came in there again. Let's look for a Bigfoot sighting. 23. There we go. Playing with a toddler. No, actually, DJ, you don't take a shot when you have that hooray moment. Years ago, I was working on a project, and someone said, whenever you feel like you need to high five someone when you're coding together, you should git commit. That's what you should be doing. So let's go ahead and push a PR, drink a shot. Code starts great in the morning, but by the end of the day, day drinking's fine. Why we all work from home. Looks like they're all done. Okay, let's go ahead and do a query. Let's see if we can find the Walmart. I know I've got a search in here already. I don't feel like typing it all again. So query in the backyard. Nice. Yeah, just one. Oh, this is a different story about a backyard. Let's go for a toddler. In this account, the witness shares an experience of observing a Bigfoot figure in their backyard where it was seen playing with their toddler. The interaction between the creature and the child is described as friendly and non-threatening. No physical contact or communication was reported between the witness, toddler, and Bigfoot. The witness expresses contemplation of hiring the creature as a babysitter based on its observed behavior toward their child. However, no further information is given regarding this feasibility or implications of such an arrangement. Oh, this stuff's great. Grapes. Did that one go there? Okay, yeah, there it is. Witness recounts an observation of a Bigfoot figure in their backyard, specifically engaged in consuming grapes. The sighting took place within the confines of the witness's personal property, and no interaction or communication between the witness and the creature was reported. The focus of the account is on the behavior of the Bigfoot, which appears to be foraging for food like a human. No further details are provided regarding the size, appearance, or other characteristics of the creature. And I guess we have to search for Walmart, don't we? Yeah, so that one has these are these are quite delightful. So, okay, well, I am very satisfied with that. That is working. I'm able to fan these up and do them in parallel if I so desire. I'm going to go ahead and shut all this down. I think we are going to do a git commit so that you all can poke around with this yourself. So let's go ahead and actually those sightings will be in there because because they're all in this file right here. They're in this dump.rdb. So let's just go ahead and git edit. I changed a lot of files. It's okay. Git add dot git commit dash m. Lots of stuff. That's a terrible message. Streaming of sightings working needs some more robustness baked in. Docker compose 8-bit board. I saw Bigfoot in my backyard eating grapes, and his hair was perfect. He's using that herbal essence that, you know, yeah, that's kind of an old. Do they still make that stuff? I mean, that was a whole commercial there for a long time. Well, let's go for an even older hair joke. Salon perm? No, Ogilvy. Who remembers that one? There may not be anyone watching who remembers that one. That's an old one. You are CEO and HR now, so it's all good. Well, you know, like I like to say, DJ, you can't be drunk all day if you don't start in the morning. So, well, I'm pleased as punch. That went quite well. So, yeah, code's out there for y'all to mess with. If you want to run it, you're gonna have Docker Compose up to get your Redis running, and then just npm the rest of the things, and you should be fine. But yeah, totally working. Go check it out. Play with it. Let me know. I'm going to throw that QR code up there once more in case anyone else wants to play with this code. So here we go. It's just at github.com/Guy Royse/ what is the URL? I think it's well, we can do a git remote -v finding Bigfoot with semantic search. That's the endpoint right there. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've got. A couple other little calls to action here before we're done here. So I always like to point out that we have a Discord server over at Redis. So if this is the QR code for a Discord server, it's also at discord.gg/Redis, which is not that hard to remember. But we've got a Discord server. We've got a ton of forums where you can ask questions if you're playing with this stuff and you run into some problems. Post your questions there. Someone will hopefully answer them. There's community members, and Methalich in particular tends to be an absolute machine at answering these questions. I get on there when I can, and as does the rest of the team. So go out there and join the Discord server and have a good time with us. And yeah, that's what I've got. Code's out there, Discord's out there. Yeah, go play with this. Make your own stuff. The README here, if you are going to play with this code, just know that there's a couple gotchas in the README. So you'll need to download your own model here, because this is models like it's big. Like go to the models folder. It is 4.1 gigabytes, and so I can't commit that to GitHub. I just heard police sirens through my headset. I wonder if you all heard them. They're on to me. They know that I know where Bigfoot's at. They're coming to get me. And this is the command I had to run here for the did not use metal on my Mac. So if you run into that issue, you can do that as well. But this is not necessarily required. You've got everything you need. You should be good. So that's pretty much what I got. So thanks a lot, everybody. Let me turn my my code off here. There we go. So thanks a lot, everybody. I will see you on Friday. I'm not sure if we're going to tidy this up or if I'm going to pick a front end. I'll probably tidy this up a little bit just to make it a little more robust and get all the Docker stuff working cleanly. And then maybe sometime next week, we'll look at actually putting a UI on this so that you can, so you have a nice, pretty thing you can run. Any preferences from anyone that's watching on what I use for front-end framework? I tend to be a back 40 kind of guy. I haven't done a lot of front-end UI that's not mobile. And so, but we could do it with React or Svelte or Vue or something like that. Maybe we should do Vue. We like to call it the Vern stack, which is the Vue, Express, Redis, and Node. And so if we use Vue, then we can use the Vern stack, if you know what I mean. Know what I mean, Vern? Know what I mean? Ooh, HTMX. That is an interesting idea. That's a really interesting idea. I'm not sure if it'll work or not. So like I mentioned, and DJ, take a shot. I'm going to say Columbus again. At the JavaScript meetup that I run, we had a speaker there. The other last month's speaker did a thing on HTMX, and it looked pretty straightforward. I don't know how well it would play with this though. So, but I got a couple people that are saying SvelteKit. Captain Caveman likes SvelteKit. I've done a little bit of Svelte, but it's been about a year and a half since I looked at it. This is the problem with all these front ends is I'm just never in them. And so you go read them and learn about them, and then you do play a little bit, and then you don't touch them for 6 months, and then it all falls out of your head, and then you got to do it again. So, but yeah, so we'll look at doing something with that. SvelteKit seems to be popular. And there is a call to React Next remix. Yeah, we've got a fair bit of. There's a guy in the marketing team that in the technical marketing team that does a lot of Next.js. Will, yeah, he tends to be his go-to. But and then poor Angular. I used to use Angular a long time ago, but but I think the people have spoken, and we're going to go with Svelte. And so that would be the Redis. Let's see if can we make a 3-letter acronym for that, like CERN, so Svelte, Express, Redis and Node, something like that, or a Raise, I don't know. But we'll take a look at that. I'm kind of indifferent to what front end I use, and so yeah, so that'll be probably next week. Friday, I think we'll tighten up this code and make sure it's nice and easy to run so you can get the server pieces running. So, and with that, thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and I will see you on Friday. Bye. Hang on. Not bye yet. Where do I click to say bye? Here we go. Okay. Bye for real this time. Bye.